So you've got the Mark III, or you're watching it or interested in it, and we've already done the unboxing, sections 1 and 2, and now we're getting ready to start section 3. I'm Ron, and this is my place. Welcome back. Alright, so we're on to section 3, and same routine. I'm not going to probably be doing a whole lot of eye contact. Just pretend I am, and we're just going to focus on the build. So this is where we're at so far, as you can probably see. Now we're going on to section 3, which is the X-axis assembly. So it's moderately difficult, apparently. We need some tools, and now we're going to go into axis 3. Lots of parts. Turning it into a printer. So we've got the X-end motor side, and we have the idler side, and the parts appear to be, if I had glasses on I could actually see them. Everything appears to be looking pretty good shape. All right, so we got those. We need 4 bearings. I wonder if we'll get 4 that have all the bearings on them. So 4 bearings. We need, all right, we're gonna do the same thing again. That, we have some screws, we have 3 more linear bearings. We'll hold those off to the side, and we're going to go ahead and dump our just getting all the parts together. So there's 1. 2. Yes, I know you can count. 3. And the last one. Move that trash can closer, because I seem to be needing it a lot. If it wasn't full of failed prints from the CR10, I'd have more room in it, but I digress. Okay, so we have that, and then we need an M3 by 18 screw. And a nylock nut. Where are you, nylock nut? There's you are. So we got what we need. We are inserting the linear bearings into the printed parts as shown in the picture from either end. should be in a line with the y-axis. So basically, they need to be at the ends. And then we want the two sets of bearings 45 degrees apart. So basically what we're going to be doing is inserting them that far and that far. So flush with the ends. And then what happens is if you look inside the bearings, you don't want all the lines to be lined up. You want them 45 degrees apart from each other once we press them in. Because that's going to give you the most contact room. So that way you don't have two sets of bearings here. You're going to have them slightly off from each other. Gives you better stability. Placed. Okay, so let's see how this works out. Yeah, this is going to be... This is going to be tough. So there's that. And now we're going to put... That is going to be about like that. Okay. The bottoms seem to go in way easier than the top is. So I'm going to cheat and just slide from the bottom or from this side. Don't know if that's really bottom or top, but anyhow. Okay, so now I've got that one, and I'm going to take this one, and again, you're not going to, no way you're going to be able to see this, so I'm not even going to pretend to show it to you. But you just, again, you want them to be about 45 apart. There's a good picture of it in the procedure. So there you go. So there's that one, and now we're going to do that's why it probably went in easy. And now we're going to do this one down this way. And then this one is going to be 45 out. Not super tight on that one. And then on this one we have the idler pulley, which is good. We'll put the nut in on this side. Apparently. They don't seem to be very snug in this race, but I guess we'll see how that works out. This one seems to be Yeah, it's I'm not sure the difference it's going to be. I mean, they're just down to the edge, but it's like it's not quite springy enough. Once you put this top one in, it's like it's not quite at the right size, but we'll see how it works out. And then this one again, you're being just careful as you go through. You're using the I'm using the screw to pull in the nut. This one's a little bit more difficult to get set up right. You just want to make sure it'll rotate, which it is. All right. So now we are getting the other rods. We're taking the longest rods, which are going to be this one and this one. We're trying to be very careful as we are fitting these rods through. Looks like somebody made a comment in it too. We'll see what the... Maybe we'll read that. Okay. These linear bearings are definitely not super quiet. Oh, bummer. That was me being stupid. Not following directions. I'm actually... So don't do what I did. Get your other 3 bearings out. That was a trial run. Just to see if you're paying attention. Hopefully you were more so than I was. If I remember, I may cut that out, but you know. We're all here to screw up together. So now I'm going to put carefully one on and then two on the other. One and two on the other. All right, so now I'm back in business. All right, so now we're going to insert the rods with the bearings fully into the printed parts. So there's that printed part. And this printed part. And I'm not loving the how these are not snug right there at all, but so press that like that. This like that. And pay attention to what you're doing. So there's that and that. And then both of these are going to go into here. There we go. So the only other thing that they have is there's little spots down at the bottom here and over here that you can actually see the how far the bearings. You want to make sure that they're fully seated. So now we are going to get the X-axis motor. And I think it's this one. And again, X-axis. Make sure you're verifying that what it says. And the pulley. And so this has the pulley with the pulley side down, and we're just going to rough it in. But again, like we did before, we want to verify that you are taking the first screw up against the flat, and that's what helps it prevent from spinning on the shaft. So you want to make sure it's flat, snug it just a little bit. We'll be messing with that in alignment, I'm sure, very soon. Make sure it's not pressed up against there, and don't worry about tightening it. We'll get to it here shortly. And now we need to get 3 long screws. And then it says press it against it as shown. So we want the connector to come out down the bottom, and we're going to be coming into it like so. So we're going to want the connector to come out the bottom. I'm going to get them all 3 started before I tighten anything. tightening them. So it's important that you put the pulley on facing the correct direction too. Make sure the pulley part is down and the set screws are towards the top, because it's going to line with the belt's going to end up coming through the center here. All right, so that should be good. Now we're going to go to the X-Carriage assembly. So we're going to need this bad boy. And we're going to need 5 nuts. Which is what I have left, as well as a couple zip ties. Insert the nuts in the traps, which are going to be here, 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 and here and here. Again, make sure you follow the procedure on the document. It'll tell you everything you need, and again, just like we said before, don't force anything. Just take your time and just press them in. One. It's just easier if you use your needle nose here. There's 2. Well, almost 2. 2 1/8. And there's one in the center here, right here. Yeah, this one's a little bit less. One's fighting a little bit. I don't know if there's something in here or what. So I'm just using the end of an Allen wrench to help push this out a little bit. Basically just letting it line up. This one's almost loose. Almost there. There we go. should do it. I don't want to break anything. There. Alright, so now I just got the last two. Just going to make sure they're clean. For whatever reason, the black doesn't seem to be quite as clean printed as the orange was. I think it's all ABS. Whoa! I think. It was on the forums there was a post about that, or no, it was in the manual here that's actually where somebody had asked what the material was made from. Pretty sure they said it was all ABS. Maybe it would make sense, but okay, so I think we have all the parts and all the nuts in there now. And now we are putting the zip ties as shown. So they want the zip ties to be like this. Make sure the orientation is correct. And again, watch the ridges. So you want the flat piece going towards the other tag end. And now we are going to we're spinning this around like so. They want the two in the, come on. They want two in the middle. Plastic threads. Kind of like that. Lift up one side and slide the left. So now we're basically hooking up the X-Carriage, and then so basically at this point make sure you're sliding these so they'll actually snap into place, and the bearings here. And then you're going to basically make sure that the zip ties, because the whole thing lines up, you're going to make sure the zip tie ends are on this side apparently. And they'll line up over the lines that are in the bearings. Still a bit weird that these things all rely off of zip ties. Deep down, I kind of wonder what's going to happen when the zip ties start aging, because they do. I mean, it's not the end of the world, you just replace them, but it takes a while for it to happen. My guess there'll be plenty of other issues before that could even remotely occur. Okay. So there's that part. And the x-axis is done. They want us to have a dummy now. I should probably make sure I follow directions. And we're going to go right into the Z motor. Step 4. And now we're going to start this off to the side. Okay, so we get some of the parts together. Got the screws in our handy dandy bowl. And now we're getting ready to start Z-axis. So now I need the pots. So we're getting Z-axis pots. So we got those 2. And we need 6 screws. And looks like we need the printer back. If only I had a printer. So we're gonna put it like this. And getting tired of looking around it, so we're going to do the smart thing for now and move it over here and move this over here. And we are doing place the printed parts next to the frame, because we want to when you're doing this, each of these has a hole in it and you want it to be on the outside. So there's a hole here and hole on that side. There we go. That's what we want. And that's what they're asking you to make sure that you're careful about. All right. And now we're just snugging them down. Apparently there's issues with screws because they specifically warn you not to, on this one for whatever reason. Oh. I actually was going to do it wrong because I'm an idiot. Because you're actually putting these 3... No, I was right. I was right. Because you're mounting them up against it like this to hold the motors. And you want the rods to be on the outside. So that is the correct way. But it's very likely that I'm still an idiot. All right. So now if you have an issue with screws not starting well, you can actually put them in from the other side as well to chase out the threads. So far, if I could actually do this, it looks like mine are starting okay. do the other one. So this one is fighting me a little bit, so I'm going to chase out the threads to make sure that everything's okay. And this is what they mean by chasing out the thread, just going kind of in from the other side. It'll clean up all the threads and push out the stuff from the other side. Make sure your holes are lined up. And then we'll come back from the other side. Should I do this one while I'm here? Why not? Yeah, it was a little crapola out of that. So now we will redo what we were just started. Really careful you don't cross thread, and that's what was trying to happen to me, is it was trying to cross thread. Crisis averted. So you just want to make sure that the screws are going in straight and without a problem. And that is indeed what is happening now. Trying to reduce, I noticed when I got the last video posting, which I may start and stop here shortly to see. I noticed it was some of the banging was getting kind of loud in the mic. Apologize. But. All right, so now we have some Z screw covers. We have 2 Z motors. Now, there's one. And there's 2. And I gotta see which direction they go. Each one has a different cable. The shorter one must be on the left side, longer on the right. Left and right depending on what. So, shorter and longer. I'm thinking that's the wrong left and right, but we'll see. So now we're removing these We're going to need these, so you're going to hang on to them. They are integral part. So, and then they're calling them screw covers, which are 1, and there's 2. Jeez, don't do that. So these are supposed to screw on somehow. So they're made with, there we go. Inside each of these little nuts is 4 tabs, and you gotta basically line those up with the screw grooves, and then you just rotate it down. You can rotate the motor just fine. It's a stepper, it doesn't care. And screw it all the way down. And it says covers should be screwed fully onto the motor, but not too tight. The motor must still be able to spin freely. Okay. Alrighty. So to do this, all I did was I rotated counterclockwise, and you'll feel a little click as they line up with the grooves, and then I just kept messing with that until I could finally get it. It'll kind of just catch, and then it'll start screwing down. So these are just going to basically screw all the way down till they're flush at the bottom, and then you're going to be able to still turn it. Are these NEMA 17s? Yep, NEMA 17s. These definitely, they're not all made the same. Compare these to some of the other ones. So if you hold this and you go backwards, and now it'll still, that way it's snug up to there, but it'll still turn just fine. So that's what they mean. So now, shorter cable on the left and right, Prusa sign towards you. This is the left, that's the right. Okay, so now we're gonna put the these in, and I need to see which direction the wires are supposed to go. It appears they will go out the back. So it looks like it's going to be out the back of the assembly. Because the wires will go up underneath. That's what it looks to be like. Yeah, there's like a cutout on the frame here, back here, for the wires to come through. That's kind of cool. So now we need 4 for each of these. Good news is some of this boring stuff you can fast forward through. I could edit it out, but you know, I'd rather be building the printer than editing a whole bunch of stuff. And I think it'll be just fine. As always, I just get them all started before I try and snug anything. And these are printed parts. Even though it's holding the motor up, you want to just be kind of cautious. You want them tight, but you don't want them break things tight. Definitely not what you want. Again, make sure the electrical connection is going towards the back. And we come over to this one. got some really high quality printed parts. Obviously they're printed on a Prusa. Whole fleet of them, in fact. But yeah, these are really clean parts. It's not all printed parts are created the same, that's for sure. Quick test to make sure everything still worked good, and it did. It's turning into a printer. Snugging them up. All right, so there's that. And now we are putting the trapezoidal nuts back on. That's going to go there. Now we are bringing this back. For now, let's put this over here. It's hard to keep everything so you can see it. All right. So we got the two nuts and 4 screws and 4 nuts. So now we are putting some nuts into place. Darn it. These are actually almost too loose. I mean, they're going to be fine, but comparatively. So this is going to go up into it like so. So the important part is that when you put this in, you can see the tip side, it needs to go up into that. So the flat side's at the bottom, but it doesn't matter which of the 4 screws you use. Obviously. And then again, you're putting these in there. Can be careful on the one set because there's nothing really holding it in. It'll just push it right out if you're not cautious. These you want nice and snug. Again, they're printed parts, so don't want to crush them. Okay, let's see what's next. So now we are sliding the axis. We want to place this again. So we are going to seems long. We'll see. Yeah, I'm thinking something's not right with this. So what I've got going on here is that the screw hole, or this screw just seems excessively long. I'm trying to see if I had others in here that were leftovers. I don't know if they're going to be long enough though. I may have to trim that off. Because what's happened is it appears that it's just making sure I was trying to do it right, and I was. Yeah, something's funky. Something is funky. No way. Something is just weird. That's why I'm trying to figure this out. This is the belt piece, but it's going to hit. It's just too long of a screw. It's like so what's happened is, I don't know exactly yet, but it looks like this printed piece is being problematic. It's like it didn't print right or something. I'm hoping I don't have to reprint it. Otherwise everything's going to be delayed. It's almost like the screw head is going down too far into it. Let's see what I can figure out. Yeah, it's exactly what it was. The print is printed wrong. So I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do to fix it. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, so what happened here, or what's going on, is this part, for whatever reason, should have had an inset there for the screw head to go into, and it doesn't. So the screw head goes down too far, which makes it too long. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to try and find a washer to see if I can make this work, and hopefully it doesn't cause any other issues to prevent me from having to reprint. So I'm going to pause everything and I'll be back. Okay, so what I had here is you can see this screw head going through, holding the idler there, going through into a nut. There was nothing here on this side to hold the nut head, so it was going too far into this, which was causing it to go. It was actually tightening against the pulley, and going straight through. So that whole thing something wasn't right. It wasn't built right, didn't print right, whatever. I didn't have any debris, so it wasn't like I broke anything. So anywho, just got to be careful with that. I ended up putting 2 washers, and it doesn't have a ton of threads, but it should work. At some point I may reprint if I can make sure that they're good, but everything's looking fine. We're back on track. Put these things back together. And theoretically, should be able to Yep, that's not going to work either, because the screw head's in the way, which is what I was afraid of. So I am going to pause and see if I can figure something else out, or I may have to print a part. Okay, I think I got it. I still may end up having to print that and redo it at some point. But for now, it looks like it's fine. Trying to see how much space there is. Okay, so now I'm happier. Pulled it in just a little bit more. It should be good, especially once it's on rods and it's straighter. We should be good now. I still at some point may have to reprint, but all right. So now at this point we are back into the mix again. So the key here is you set these on, and then you rotate the motors on the shafts here to both shafts. You basically rotate them, and then you're going to look at the top bar, and you're going to make sure that everything according to the directions is parallel, and you're going to just play with those until it's correct, and this one looks good. So now we are taking the remaining rods and we're going to be inserting them very carefully. And then it sets down into the motor. And we're going to do this one. All right, so we have that part done. Now we are doing the Z-axis top parts. And that was quite the delay as we were figuring that one out. But I believe I saw somebody else have the same basic problem, so it's kind of unfortunate. So we will now all right, so now we are simply so there's two, and I'll show you here in a second after I get this one started. On this other part, same thing. There's two spots, and those spots line up to those. So you're basically going to go on like that. And that's just holding the tops down. It's a loose fit, should be. And it's just to realign everything, or to align everything. Don't over tighten anything, just tighten it down, don't reef on it. Like the others, make sure you get them started before you go tighten anything down. This is just to keep the shafts, both the lead screws and the smooth shafts, straight up and down. Perfect. All right, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we are doing a belt. So now I need to get to the other side. So this one now, what we're doing is we're looping the belt back on itself. And that, so it's kind of holding itself into place. And the trick is to get the right amount of teeth, which seems to be annoying, but again, neat concept. This is actually kind of annoying. All right, so I think I got that one. Again, you can see it in the manual, probably better than I can show it, but you can see here, it goes in the top and then it loops down to the bottom. So the teeth are down. And then I assume that point and there's no belt hanging out because apparently it's important. And now I am Okay. Now, slid instead of lifted and blew a tire. So assuming it's going to go here. Yep. So now we're going to feed it So the key here is you have to pull it straight across through the belt and or through the motor pulley and then back again. Okay, so now they're saying to release 2 of the 3 screws here. Which is going to let us rotate it down, and this is going to be all for belt tension purposes. Because it's going to allow it to rotate down a little bit. So we rotated it down. So now at this point, putting it back into play. The other side apparently can have no slop. This one can have some apparently. So now at this point, we've got the belt into this carriage, and we're trying to determine belt tension by the rotation of this. And I'm thinking I'm maybe a little bit snug, but maybe not. Thinking that may be pretty good, actually. So like everything on these, make sure you're careful with the parts, because you can break them if you go too far, and you can't back up. Once it goes crack, you're done. All right, so that is good. We got our bolts back in, and now we're going to be aligning the just like we did on the other one. We're aligning the belt. Thinking needs to go in just a little bit. So at this point, you're just kind of eyeballing things and making sure that your belt looks like it's aligned top and bottom. It looks pretty good. Now at that point, I'm actually very happy with the tension. And we're done with the Z-axis. Now we're moving on to the extruder. I think I'm going to pause for a moment and get this video up, and then I'll come back for 5. Thank you much, and see you on the next one.